I confess, I didn't find a name for this kind of bobble, so I coined the term Japanese bobble because I learned to make it from a book of Japanese stitches. If you know a different name for this particular type of bobble, please let me know in the comments below. In this video, I'll show you how to make this little beauty that looks a lot like a tiny pine cone. This bobble looks best on a reverse stockinette background, so I made the swatch in reverse stockinette and put several bobbles there to show how they look. See, each bobble has a shape of a drop, just like this, with the yarn strands forming an interesting pattern that looks a lot like a pine cone to me. To make this bobble, work the first 2 rows or rounds in reverse stockinette stitch. That means that you purl all stitches in the right side rows and knit all stitches in the wrong side rows, or if you work in the round, purl all stitches in every round. We need these 2 rows because we'll be making the bobble from a spot that is 2 rows below the current row. See, like here we have a bobble that kind of goes down. So it was made in this row, but it goes 2 rows down. So we need these 2 extra rows to have enough room for making the bobble. So remember to make 2 rows in reverse stockinette stitch first. In the 3rd row, that's where the magic happens, or round. The instructions are the same for working flat or working in the round because it's just a bobble, right? It doesn't really matter how you work. So in the 3rd row around, work to the spot where you plan to place a bobble. For me, it's gonna be right here. So I purl 2 stitches, and that's the stitch because I want the bobble to be on top of the previous one, and that's where I'm gonna make the bobble. So then look at the first stitch on the left needle, at this little guy, and trace it down to find a spot that is 2 rows below. So on reverse stockinette stitch, it's simple. You look at those little strands, at the bumps, so to say, right? So you look at the 1, 2, and you go into the spot that is 2 rows below, right here. So you insert the tip of the right needle from front to back into this spot that is 2 rows below the first stitch on the left needle. Then you wrap it with the yarn and pull the wrap through, just like this. Make a yarn over, then insert the tip of the right needle again into that same spot that is 2 rows below. Wrap the tip of the right needle with the yarn, pull it through, make a yarn over, and do it one more time. Go into that spot, wrap the needle with the yarn, pull it through. No yarn over after this wrap. Let's look at the right needle. We have 5 extra stitches, 3 wraps and 2 yarn overs in between the wraps. That's how it's supposed to look. And these stitches, they form the bobble. Now drop the first stitch from the left needle, like this, and let it unravel all the way to the spot where we inserted the right needle in the previous steps. It helps a lot to pull the fabric down. This way you make sure that the wraps are evened out, and you make sure that the bobble is centered, because see, when the stitch unraveled, we've got those loose strands, like these ones. I'm going to show you what I mean, these strands, and when we pull the fabric down, we kind of center the bobble, so it's going to be at the center of these strands, and that's how we need it. Now turn your work and purl these extra stitches that we've just created, the 5 stitches. Simply purl them. It helps a lot to make the wraps and the yarn overs slightly bit loose, because the looser the wraps, the puffier the bobble. But again, it depends on how you want it. If you want a really tiny bobble, then make the wraps tighter. If you want a nice puffy one, then make the wraps looser. So I purled these 5 stitches and it's time to turn the work again. Now insert the tip of the right needle into the first 3 stitches. So I'm gonna separate these 5 so you see where the bobble is. Insert the tip of the right needle into the first 3 stitches as if you're gonna knit 3 together, like this. See, we go from left to right and insert the needle this way, and then we simply slip them from the left needle to the right needle, like this. Now knit the remaining 2 stitches of the bobble together. Simply knit them together. And we've got 1 stitch as a result. Now insert the left needle into these 3 stitches that we've just slipped. This time you go from left to right and pass the 3 stitches over the stitch that we've just created by knitting 2 together, like this. And that's it. Now spread the stitches so they form a nice little bobble, and here we go. Now we are back to 1 stitch, that's where we started from, and you can definitely see a beautiful bobble right underneath it. Now that we know how to make this bobble, we can easily add it to our knits to spice up even the simplest projects. Click the link below to read about 3 main ways we can decorate our knitting with bobbles, as well as to get the written instructions for making the bobble itself. Thank you for watching this video and have a wonderful week. I'll see you next Thursday.